Well, I guess I'm back for another tutorial. This is Adobe Premiere Pro CC 2017. This is just a basic tutorial. Let's head right in. Whenever you go to open Premiere Pro app, this is what you're going to see. This is the main screen. What you see on this screen is a new project, open project, new team project, and open team project. Now, if you have a previous project you'd like to work on, you go to open project, or it may even show it here in the recent documents. But if you have something new you would like to check out or make, just hit new project. This is where you determine your name of your project and where it's going to be located on your drive. This may not seem like a big deal, but believe me, if you receive several projects you want to work on, or things get on the back burner and you want to come back to them later, they'll be able to be easily found thanks to your nice naming skills. Check out mine, Adobe test. You can't get much better than that. Once you have all that finished, this is the next screen you're going to see. This may look a little bit of alarming or overwhelming, but believe me, it's not. For beginners, only a portion of it will actually be used. If you look up to the top, you can see presets for your workspace. I think for now we'll just leave it in assembly because that has all the bare backbones of the things that you're going to need to get your video started. There's a tab called Media Browser, and what you can do with that is you can bring your video in after you inserted your SD card or your flash drive, or however you're getting your video onto your computer. Just find a directory that you place your files in and select them all, and you can right click and import them into your project. Now, depending on if you're a Mac or a PC, it may be a little different, but the process should be all the same. But now you need them in your timeline. So to get them into your timeline, all you need to do is just drag a file over to your timeline and it will make a sequence for you. Or you can always go up to File and New and create sequence from clip. The choice is up to you, but dragging may be easy for you, but if you'd rather not take that route, or your mouse is slow and laggy, might want to go up to File, New, and Sequence from Clip. As you'll notice in this program, there's multiple ways to do nearly everything. But now what can you do? Well, you can watch your footage if you wanted to, and to do that you can hit spacebar and it will play it, or here's a quick little tip on hotkeys. If you press J, it will send you back, and every press of the J will send it back faster and faster. K on your keyboard will pause it, and L will do just the opposite of J and make it go faster. And so you can fast forward it, and every press of it will just accelerate it more and more. And then you can press K to pause it. Or if you don't like hotkeys, or you don't want to press spacebar, you can always just press the play button located typically above your timeline. And if for some reason you don't like any of those methods, you can always just scrub through it, which can help you find certain parts of your video if that's what you're looking for. So now your timeline's open, but you may notice it creates two separate entities, one video and one audio. Your audio is on the bottom and your video is located above it. Now there are several things you can do with your audio and video. For example, for your video, you can turn off certain layers, or you can lock it so you can't move it at all. So if you want something to stay specifically in a certain place, you can just lock it. No matter what you do, it won't move it. And with your audio, you can mute or solo it. Mute will just mute that track, or you can press solo and it's going to mute all the other tracks except for that one. So let's talk about the toolbar now. As you notice, you have several different tools at your disposal. Now for some of these tools, you're definitely going to use some more than others. Let's run through a few of them. The hand tool, for example, is just to scrub through your media without you being able to touch anything. Other than that, it's kind of just there to move through your media, and you can't really edit with it, so its usability isn't much. But if you want to just scrub through your timeline and just kind of see what was going on, see the inner workings, you could do that. But you can also just do that with your selection tool. Now for a razor blade tool. What you can do with it, you can pretty much just cut your media into two. So like, let's say there's a certain point you want to clip out, or you're playing with your audio and there's like a or some kind of sound you want to cut out. You can easily just cut that out by cutting a start and an end point, and then deleting the point that you created, and there you go. You deleted your and it was that easy. You just had to cut, delete, and you're good to go. Now your selection tool, as I just mentioned earlier, is your main tool. That's what you're going to be using most of the time. It's how you adjust your timeline, where you're going to be 80% of your time when you're editing your timeline. Now here's the pen tool. The pen tool, you can draw on your screen, you can draw with it in Premiere, and you can also mask out. Now masking we'll get to in an advanced tutorial, but for now, you don't have to worry much about that. Now the text tool is exactly what it says it is. Now in recent versions of Adobe Premiere, it's changed because now all you have to do for the text tool is just press on the screen and it'll draw a little box for you and you can just type whatever you want. The box won't be seen, but the text that you write will. If you go to your effects controls, depending on how your workspace is, you can also find up in the windows. The window bar is also where you're going to find all your other useful things like your effects controls, your timeline if it got deleted, or anything else. Once you're in the effects control, you'll notice it has a bunch of things you can deal with, like your position, your scale, rotation, anchor point, anti-flicker filter, your opacity. Now that's universal. That's going to appear for mostly any video that you mess with. But then if you go down more, you're going to see more specific options for whatever you're messing with. Like if you're messing with your text, you're going to have all these options where you can change fill, stroke, shadow, change the size of your text, change the font, and there's tons of different options. And be sure to change your font accordingly. So like if you had don't put white on white and don't put black on black, and avoid yellow because it can be harsh on the eyes depending on where you place it. But just play with it and see what you can get. As you can see right now, I got white on white, and we're going to change that. Also, a fun thing you can do with these are keyframes. If you press the little time clock, it will make a keyframe on the mini timeline that it makes in effects controls. And if you set a key point at one spot and set at another spot, it will merge the two, and you don't have to every frame. You don't have to change the settings. It will change the settings for you. Now just watch for what to do for volume. You can set 2 keyframes and then go back to the first keyframe and play it out. And you'll notice that the volume changes as it plays. You can also set more keyframes depending on what you want. And you may not even want that at all. So if you don't want keyframes, you can always just press it and turn it off. So now that you know all this, let's get to editing. So as you can see here, we have a clip of our intern working hard like he always does. And we highly respect our interns here. So let's make him a little video so that he can see just how much we appreciate all that he does. Now I already have some files dragged down there, but you can always drag more files down there by just clicking on your file and dragging it onto the timeline, or you can double click it and you'll notice that it'll open it in the source monitor. Now you'll notice it creates this very tiny timeline, and what you can actually do is if you press mark in and mark out, you can mark specific points, and next all you have to do after that is just drag it down and it will be inserted into your timeline. And another fun fact is that you can either just get the audio or the video. So if you heard a snippet that you wanted to capture, just mark in and mark out that and drag the audio down to your timeline. Or if you have video you just want to get, just get the video, because who knows what you're working with. You never know, but these are very useful, and it's a very powerful tool to get what you want without having a crowded timeline. If you drag your mouse to a clip on your timeline, and you'll notice that if you go to the very edge of it, hold and drag, you can actually shorten or lengthen it depending on how long your video is. Once you start doing that with your video, you'll notice that it also does the same to your audio, so you constantly don't have to be changing them both and matching them. Oh man, I almost forgot. We should probably give our favorite intern some music behind his little video here. So once you have your audio clip while you got it online or you made it yourself, you can import it the same way you brought in your video. Just find it in its directory and import it into your project. And once it's imported, you can throw it onto your timeline. The best way to get the audio onto your timeline, because it's most likely a long track, is to put it into your source monitor. And when it's there, you can mark in and mark out the parts that you want, and then you can throw it down into your timeline. So the video's looking good, but I think we should add some text so the intern really knows just how much we appreciate the hard work that he's doing here. So let's add some text here. Now you can edit the text just like you can any other program. And then you can go over to your effects controls, and you can really have a lot of controls over it, while you want it in a different position, or you want to change the scale, or up the letters, or change the color. So now we got our text. So let's watch this and see how it looks. It's certainly not going to win an Oscar, but for a few seconds of editing, it's not bad. And I think the intern will appreciate it. But you know, let's just, so he knows, let's add a bit more text here. Let's make it white because of the black background. We want to make it green, but you can. You know, this is your video. You can do whatever you want with it. But let's make that white. Let's center it, and there you go. I guess it's about time we finish up this tutorial. So let's talk about exporting. Now that the video is together, we have to get it out of Adobe Premiere and onto your desktop, wherever you want to save it. So to do that, just go up to File and go to Media. We'll go to Export, then hit Media, and this new window will pop up, Export Settings. Change the format to whatever you want. I personally prefer H.264, and the preset is to match the source, a high bit rate, so it looks nice. Make sure you're exporting audio, make sure you're exporting video. You can scroll through your settings, and actually if you want to change the preset, you can. Just press this preset and it'll show you a whole list of presets. If you're wanting your video to export at 30 frames or 23.9 frames, or you want 720p instead of 1080, then you can change all of that. As for the output name, you don't just change the output name there, you also change the output location. So be sure to fix that to exactly where you want it and with the exact name you want, or else you're going to end up exporting this video and you're not going to be able to find it. And believe me, I've had it happen. Make sure you designate a path you want it to export to. But once you have all this set up, which if you followed my advice, it's all pretty much set for you. If it's matched the source, and when you export it, it's going to look as it should. So scroll down to the bottom. You can change the target bit rate. The higher the target bit rate, the better your video is going to look, but the longer it's going to take to export. So depending on what computer you're working on, and depending on how soon you need this exported, you may want to lower it, you may want to bring it up. But once you have all that done, just hit the export button and then wait it out. Depending on the length of your video and depending on what you're exporting it on, it'll take longer, or it could just take a few seconds like my video is, since it's only a few seconds long. So once it's exported, it's going to appear at the exact place you tell it to appear with the exact name you wanted. And so that's pretty much it. Now remember, it's very important to thank your interns if you have an intern working for you. They're hard-working people. They need to be thanked too. And so that's it for the Adobe Premiere Pro CC Basic tutorial. I'm Adrian Smith, and I'll holler at you later.